Welcome to the Nation's Weekly Podcast. My name is Joel Parker, and to my left,
Claire Henning.
Claire, we are doing it. This is it. Joseph is out, and so we're not the JV team. We're actually the varsity team. So
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, I think. But hey, today we have an incredible guest. This is going to be a fun conversation. Mr. Jeff Rosene is with us. He works with an organization called Kids Around the World, and I firsthand have seen the work of this organization be extremely transformative in areas of war zones, specifically Iraq, where we made the documentary Iraq: A Forgotten Hope. So without further ado, welcome, Jeff, to the podcast.
Thank you. Honored to be here. Excited.
Well, I want to start with kind of the origin story of how you guys discovered that building playgrounds in persecuted areas, war zones, places of conflict would be something of importance to the kingdom. Where did that begin?
Yeah, it's probably not where you think, but 1994, you guys probably remember, this was right after the Soviet Union had broken up. Where we're headquartered in Rockford, Illinois, they had a sister city over in the Ukraine. Bravary was the name of the city just outside of Kyiv. And a bunch of the business leaders came together and in Rockford, and they said, hey, we want to give this city a gift. You know, all this foreign aid had been going back and forth, all this stuff, and finally decided, but we want to do something different. We want to do something for the children over there. They're always the last that people think of, right? I don't want to say completely forgotten, but you probably were thinking buildings, you're thinking structures, you're thinking all this stuff. They said, no, we want to do something specifically for the kids. And at the next meeting, someone's like, well, why don't we build a playground for the kids? And everyone's like, yes, that sounds like a great idea. And so they came together, raised the funds for a new playground from the States, shipped it over in a cargo container with every possible tool and skid loader, everything, went over there, built the playground a couple months later. And of course, huge success. I mean, these kids had never seen anything like this before, which is the case in most areas that we work in. And the mayor of the city was extremely excited, and he's like, this is, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And our founder was on that trip, Denny Johnson. And he came back to the States after that trip, and he's like, it might be onto something here. The way this playground brought the community together, the way it gave the children hope in a time where they had been through so much over the last couple of years. And so he called up the mayor of the city. And he said, hey, we would love to come over and build another playground in your city. And the mayor's like, oh, yes, of course. I would love that. He said, but there's a catch this time. We want to be able to go into your schools, and remember, this is 1995 now, and do evangelism, right? So evangelism looked very different in 1995 than it did now. So, handing out Bibles, doing puppets, if you guys remember puppets from back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And the mayor said, you can do whatever you want as long as you build another playground, because he saw what it did to their city. And so on a personal level, this was 1995. I was fortunate enough to go on that trip.
So you're on the very first trip?
I was on the second one.
Second trip.
Second trip. At 14 years old, my father was asked, he was a former children's pastor, and he was asked to come and lead the ministry side of that trip. And so I got to go and do puppets. And believe it or not, I actually was in a San Diego chicken costume, which was
no way.
I have no idea where that came from, being from the Midwest, but someone had it, cruising around with all that.
Famous mascot, probably the most famous mascot.
I agree. I completely agree. And so, we went over, did that, and it was really at that time that our organization was founded. And since then, I've continued to just really believe in the power of play because of multiple reasons, which I'm sure we'll kind of get to, but that's, how everything started.
So 14 years old, that's important. That's a life-changing thing to see and to be on this inception trip, basically. So how did you? So you said your father was involved.
Yes.
And so was he the director?
He left the church in 1999 and was our first full-time staff member.
Okay, so this has been like a family project.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah, no, it's been. It was great growing up in. I got to visit Africa, India, a couple places in the Caribbean as I was going through high school and into college, and never dreamed or imagined I would do this for a career, but the Lord had different plans for that. So.
Okay, so so the organization begins to see this need for playgrounds and how transformative they are. So where did you go after Ukraine?
After Ukraine, we did a couple different countries in Africa. We did the next one that I personally went on, which I think was our fifth. You're taking me way back here. I think it was our fifth, was an orphanage in an extremely impoverished city just outside of Chennai, India. It was 800 kids in an orphanage. We built the largest playground I had ever seen at that time. Imagine, here you see 15, 20 kids on a playground. Imagine 800 trying to fit on one. But after that, we did some in Bosnia. In the early days, we did a couple in Russia. I mean, you name it. So, yeah.
Epic.
Yeah.
I was in Iraq. We discovered the internally displaced people camp, IDP camps, and so basically, like refugee camps are for people who have left their country. IDP camps they're in their country, and so, but basically the same thing.
Yep.
Very dismal. Just very oppressive places. And I remember coming into this one camp, and it seemed to go forever. And this was the height of ISIS. This was a really bad time for Kurdistan and northern Iraq. And we turned the corner, and it was just like doom and gloom. Like you're looking in the faces. I always say this, like people go like, "What's an IDP camp like?" I'm like, everybody loves to go camping, right? Yeah. Like camping's fun for about 4 nights. Anything above 4 nights in a tent camping, and it's miserable. And so like these people have been camping for 2, 3, 4 years. Yeah. Not to mention the trauma on top of that. But we came around this corner, and there's this playground, and it's like this little beam of light that came right down from heaven, and everyone was smiling. Moms were being moms, dads were being dads, kids were being kids, and it was like this beautiful, I don't want to say distraction, but it was just like an opportunity to be human again. Yeah. And it was absolutely so encouraging to see firsthand. And I think that's when we first met too, was right around that time. And so I just want to say thank you for seeing something that, most government organizations, ministries didn't see. And thank you for having the courage and the obedience to step into something. How hard is it to raise money, like for playgrounds?
It's hard to raise money for anything,
sure.
As coming from nonprofit background, but we raise money in a variety of ways, and there's projects that are more engaged in areas where we have boots on the ground. That's one way. People see value in providing play, and so we work in conjunction with partners to help fundraise. The unique thing about the playgrounds, not to get too in detail here, but we actually removed playgrounds from the States, refurbish them, and then rebuild them internationally.
Oh, that's really
So that was a
cool.
huge transformation that we went through in the recession, 2008, because we were raising, I'm not sure if you guys know, playgrounds cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
You're looking at
How much?
$100,000 right now.
Really?
For a decent sized playground and everything, yes. Even 15 years ago, 50, 60,000. And once someone gave us that idea during the recession, because it was almost impossible to raise $50,000 for I'm going to call it a non-essential item,
right,
when it comes to global. Sure. There's a lot of value, but obviously food, water, shelter. And when we transitioned from new playgrounds to recycled playgrounds, we instantly tripled our output that we were doing globally. And so, trying to raise $10,000, $15,000 is a lot easier than trying to raise $50,000 to $60,000. And so that's kind of where we're at. So,
I love that.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. It's kind of like better for the environment too.
Yes.
Yeah,
it is.
And that's something our community.
That's really
we work
great.
with cities and
Yeah.
park districts, and mostly in the Midwest, because that's where our warehouse is.
Totally.
But they love it. We'll
Yeah.
send them a picture like, "Hey, your playground was at this school. Now it's in, wherever it may be, Jordan. Now it's in Ecuador. Now it's here, wherever it may be," and they just love it. So,
I just can't imagine being in your shoes. Yeah, like, hey, there's a war, or there's a place of conflict, or there's a place of poverty, and we're going to go build a playground. Like conveying the importance of that has got to be incredibly difficult. Claire has a passion for mental health, and so I know you're dying to ask some questions about the theology of play.
I mean, it is a curious topic. I think it's one that just recently there's been more emerging research on how vital and imperative play is to people's lives. And I think that's something that in our culture gets very lost, especially on adults. And so it's curious to me. I love the idea of transplanting playgrounds from America to other parts of the world who are lacking that need. But I'm more curious, are you able to articulate or put language to the theology of play?
Yeah.
And where that came from, and why is it a value?
Yeah.
And why is it maybe even important to God?
Yeah.
Why is that a value?
Sure. Well, I don't have my doctorate in play. I will preface that. But I do have kids, and I can tell you firsthand, if they are not playing, they're a hot mess.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
Right? I mean, kids, God created kids to be active, to play, to burn energy. And, you know, here in the United States, it's very easy for us to take that, you know, granted. Honestly, it really is. Like, we have space here. We have playgrounds here. We have beaches here. We have, you know, whatever. And internationally, you know, I've been to a lot of different countries where, like, where do the kids run?
Right.
Like a lot of places in the Middle East. I mean, you've been there. It's city streets, and it's, you know, it's buildings. And we built the playground on a 6th floor of a church before because there was no land at all, Not even the size of this office for kids just to play. Right. And, you know, it's a God-given right. I mean, if you're reading through the Bible, like, children are always playing. They're always with Jesus. They're always laughing. They're always having fun. And from our perspective, we don't want that to be overlooked. We feel that it's a right that they should have it, you know, not only from a development standpoint, you know, just interacting with other children and not being cooped up at home, you know, playing, learning teamwork, you know, learning, stretching themselves. They're like, oh, maybe I can do this monkey bar this time. You know, that's been fun for me every time I've taken, you know, my kids to the playground. It's every time we go, I'm going to push myself a little bit more. And I feel like children, they need to have that challenge. They need to be stretched, because that's what's going to help them ultimately, you know, grow up into an adult. And so, you know, it's definitely something special. You know, one of my favorite parts about whenever we're working, you know, in a country for the first time, the word playground doesn't really translate very well in many languages. And people mostly think it's going to be a slide or a couple swings, you know, because that's sometimes what we see when we travel internationally. They'll have one of those slides that we used to get burned on, you know, when we were kids, the metal ones.
The good old days.
Yeah, the good old days, like the 20-foot slides, you just dive bomb.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, we'll see a lot of those, but when it comes to play, which a lot of times we have the children build the playground with us, the second it's in the ground, the second the concrete, you know, is cured, we dedicate it, they instantly know what to do.
Yeah.
It's that intuition, you know, that God created in their minds. Like, I meant to play. I meant to go down the slide. I meant to go up the slide. I meant to swing on the swing. And that's the best part about it. So,
yeah, play is biological.
It is.
And so you are kind of meeting this biological inherent need for children to expend that and practice that and be socialized and take a break. I'm curious too as to, like, because you plant them in war zones in places that have seen devastation and immense trauma. What are the effects, the positive effects from play that you've seen impact those children's lives?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, one of the things, and this is especially abundant in refugee camps or war zones, is we build playgrounds to create community. And that's really what we're looking for. Earlier, you kind of touched on when you were at a playground, you saw the moms there, right? It's, yes, we build the playground for the children to play on, but we also want it to be a safe environment where the parents can come, where the moms can come, where they can gather, where they can, even for a couple minutes, forget about the horrible things that are happening in their lives. And, you know, the community, the entire community approach, I would say, is really what we're about. So,
and as a parent, there's no better thing to watch your kid just play.
Yes.
It's the most entertaining, wonderful thing in the world. Like, my son plays baseball, and people are like, oh, it's like the most boring thing ever. I'm like, it's great.
No,
Even
it's
when
awesome.
it's just, I he's, like last night it was, I was freezing to death. I'm like, I'll sit here and freeze to death for the rest of my life to get to watch my son play.
Yeah.
So it's just such a wonderful thing as a parent to live in. And so, what about you as a parent? How much emotion do you feel like after you've seen this playground constructed and you see that community, like what the outcome that is going to happen as you start to see it happen? What does that do inside of you?
Nothing better, man. I mean, you're a dad, like the emotions and the love that you have for your child. And, whenever our playgrounds are built in a variety of ways, but sometimes we'll take teams, from the States to work in conjunction with other people. And we always call the dedication, which is, I don't know what I would compare it to in the States. It's amazing. It's live music, it's bands, it's clowns, it's, all the dignitaries. We always call the dedication payday, and I
like that.
I was just writing an article for work that, I use the analogy, you go to a wedding and, for a while, everyone would always look at the bride. She's walking down the aisle and, I always love watching the groom. My favorite part, about a wedding. And that's exactly what I say about a playground dedication, where everyone is usually focused on the kids. I like to watch the volunteers because they're always the ones that go to impact others, to serve, to give up, their time and their energy. But it almost gets flipped because they're the ones that end up getting blessed by the work that has been done, just watching and experiencing the kids. So it never, ever gets old, ever. Yeah. Being able to do that. So
when we made the Iraq documentary, we thought we were done. We went over, we filmed, we were basically asking the question, like ISIS is awful and what they're doing is genocide. And what is the church doing in response to that? Well, at the time the church was fleeing, everyone was fleeing. And then the battle for Mosul happened and ISIS was eliminated. And so then I'm going, man, our documentary's dated. Like we need to ask the question, like, what are we doing to invite the people who've been displaced from their homes back into their communities? Who are the rebuilders? Who are those who are actually willing to say, like, no, Mosul is a beautiful community. A bad thing happened to it, but we have people dispersed all around the world. Let's invite them home. How do we create safety? How do we create trust? I think what you're doing is exactly that. You're planting a seed of ownership in communities that oftentimes don't have that. They've lacked trust. They lack. It's something that fortunately we don't have to deal with much here in the States. But could you speak to that a little bit about kind of inspiring people to take ownership in their community?
Yeah, that's a very, very important part of every single playground that we build. We always do it in conjunction with the people in the community. We don't want to be the Americans coming over, building something and saying goodbye. We'll send an installer, one person, like I said before. Sometimes we'll send a team, but we want them to build it. We want them to have ownership of it because we're not going to be there. We're there for a week. If we're partnering with another organization, and once we leave, we want them to feel like this is ours. We have pride in this. We see the value. We sweat to help build this. Yeah. We're gonna be here with our kids. We're gonna watch them. We're gonna get to experience that, and so that ownership is so important to not only our work, but honestly any global missions aspect is doing it in partnership with the people that you're there to serve. So.
Well, and that kind of leads into, because this is not the only thing your organization does. I have a background in social work and trauma-informed care, and I know how integral a holistic care plan, holistic intervention or prevention or aftercare, how important that is, and that's how it happens. And so I'm curious to know what other ways you guys are getting involved in conjunction with this playground initiative project.
Yeah. So just kind of what else we do. That's yeah.
And how the three are integrated as well.
Yeah. So we just take you back a little bit. For 25 years, our organization really focused on partnering with other organizations. We were a resource kind of based organization where, we had playgrounds. We also have a food packing program where we package 4 ingredients in a bag: rice, lentils, dehydrated vegetables, and then a vitamin packet. All of these meals are packed stateside at events because we want to be able to provide opportunities for people here to get their hands dirty, right? Not just to give money, but to be a part of that process.
I feel like I did that as a kid.
Yeah, you probably did. There's a lot of great. There's a lot of great organizations out there that do a similar program. It is fantastic. Just the way that it can engage a business or a church or a school. I mean, we do all of them. And so we have that program that we offer. And then we also have our Kids Story program, which it's a discipleship-based program. I would say it's more of a methodology, though. It's not a curriculum. And we want to be clear when we talk about it that it's just a very simplistic way to teach the Bible to children. And it utilizes the storying methodology. So it's been interesting now with my son in first grade, seeing a lot of kind of similarities to every child learns a little bit differently. Some learn visually, some learn, like by hearing, some learn by doing, some learn by drawing. And really the basis of our Kids Story methodology is to provide children different ways to retell the story or to be involved in multiple ways. So instead of a teacher standing up front for 30 minutes, walking through a Bible story, now you break that out into 3 or 4 different ways where they can be engaged and involved and retelling it. So the retention rate comes up and it's fun. Honestly, like what kid can sit for 30 minutes? And so we resource partners all across the globe within that. And then we also have our program here in the States for that. So
yeah, it's interesting because we've covered the play is a biological need, but also story.
Yeah.
Humans are hardwired for story, and that's how we have lived and grown and function and tell history. And so it's like very interesting to see how these two commingle and the fact that you're meeting, 2 basic needs.
Yeah. And it's not like it's just, we really launched that kind of initiative about 8-9 years ago, and it's nothing that's proprietary. I mean, we give it away because it's a methodology. Yeah. It's like, we don't have a curriculum. We don't have books we're selling. It's just, hey, all you need is the Bible. And here's a really simple way to teach it, and your kids are going to remember it. And it's awesome.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's what drives us here at Nations, obviously, is like story is so important. And I think it's a lost art, because like story always, in the corporate world, it's always driven towards a return, and even in the nonprofits, like, oh, we're going to go make this video for the hopes of getting, with all heads bowed and eyes closed, raise your hand if you want to give $35 a month.
Yeah.
And I think, I'd love to hear more about like just, what mores or values in the storytelling process. Like, can you give an example of that? I'm curious.
Of the values?
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of
how you do this.
Yeah.
Specifically.
So I'm not gonna say there's a right way to do it, but we kind of host trainings where we find key leaders, and this could be in our countries that we serve on, which I'm sure we'll get to at some point. But we host a training. It's usually a 2-day training, and training is probably the wrong word for it because it's more an interactive, engaging opportunity where you'll have one of our directors up front just instructing the simple concepts of how to reach different areas of a child's heart, right? Through its head, through its heart, through its hands, and get them engaged. And once all the leaders have been trained, we do provide a simple, I'm just going to call it a guidebook, right? Where we have, I think, around 100 different lessons on, say Jesus, blesses the children. So it would open up with a question for the children to get them talking, like just a random question to get them engaged that would tie into the story. And then we would walk through the story. And then after that, we would do a game, that would retell the story. And these are all very simple games that can be done anywhere in the globe, right? It could be in Africa. It could be in a refugee camp. It could be anywhere. We don't want people to feel like they have to go buy something.
Could you give an example of the game?
Okay. So you're probably going to laugh, but you take a big string.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe 20-foot string, and you tie it off. So you have a big circle and you put one knot in it. and you play music. Everyone has music, the access to, play music. And wherever it stops, that child has to say the next part of the story.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Yes. Or you could do, we'll take you back to probably grade school myself, to musical chairs.
Yeah, sure.
Usually got chairs to retell a story. The more entertaining ones would be, sorry, I have an example in my head right now from a training at our church a couple of weeks ago, but would be interacting through drama or through song.
Okay.
Just another way to retell the story. And so all these just different ways, are, at least one of them will hit a child on an individual level, where afterwards, like, oh yeah, I remember that story because we played this game, or because I was laughing at my teacher doing this type of thing. So
that's great.
Yeah.
It's also, I get a little anxiety hearing that too. A little kid like, oh, I better start thinking about how the story evolves. Wow.
Yes.
Like improv.
It is. Yeah.
Cool.
But there's not a wrong way to do it. I mean, it's very, we say it's very spirit led. Mm-hmm. Everything that we do within that program is, we don't want to put how to reach a child into a box.
Right.
Because they're all, they all learn differently. They all think differently. And the more simple we can come up with a program that can walk them through and help to grow them, the better.
I love that approach. I think missiology is hard.
Yeah.
And I think there's a couple different polar examples of what not to do in the sense of like, hey, this is how it's going to be done. And what worked in Houston, Texas is going to work in this village. And, it's like, that's just gross. And even like a lot of the training in seminary and Bible college, it's very, I hate it when God moves in a beautiful, unique way and we go, oh, quick, copy, paste. And it's like, no, it's like, pay attention to how that movement evolved, how God led through it, how he used his church through it. And then I think the opposite is true too. So where you just go, oh, well, you're a white male, you have no business going anywhere, doing anything. It's like, we as Americans can't do anything anymore when helping hurts. And it's like, and there's some great things in that book. I'm not here to say it's all bad, but I just think there's like this, hands-off approach. And I think we need to stay involved, and as the church as a whole. And I think what your approach is spot on. And it's like, hey, this is what we're learning kind of works but there's also
adapt it to your culture.
Adapt it to your culture, and where uniquely is God going to rise up leaders in this movement? Where is he going to use us as Americans? Where is he going to use the indigenous people? It's like, it's a beautiful dance. And I think that's where good leadership comes in, is watching that unfold in a way that is inclusive of everyone.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It's really cool.
We used to use, this was, late 90s, early 2000s. You remember flannel graphs?
Oh yeah.
And which were great and still are and can be an effective way, because children even globally have never seen
flannel graphs? Like the blue.
They are
perhaps
epic.
From Sunday school.
If you went to Sunday school in the 90s or 80s.
Jesus was Norwegian. Like long blonde hair.
Yes, ringing a bell.
Well, the challenge, one of the challenges globally is most children can't read.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So it's literally a piece of flannel with characters, and you're telling the story. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they're watching that story. But the challenge with us, and a lot of other great organizations out there, is we were constantly having to fundraise to buy. We had a machine in our office. We'd print these things.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the kid story concept came along, it really changed a lot of things, because people didn't feel like they had to have something to enable to reach children.
Right.
Like, oh, I don't have that flannel graph. I don't have that, toy or whatever the I don't call it gimmick. That makes it sound negative, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They thought they had to have some type of product to teach children, and really they don't. They just need the Bible. That's all they need.
Yeah.
So
love that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's the hardest part of your job?
Hardest part. I love my job. It's, I think, prioritizing, next steps, prioritizing, I'm not going to say fundraising, but we all have a budget that we operate of. We all have only so much that we can do, and constantly thinking, what is the most impact that we can have for the kingdom out of those funds that we can raise, when there's I mean,
need
so many
everywhere.
children, all
Yeah.
across the globe. And I'm not even just saying like with kids around the world. I mean, with all the great organizations that are out there, you're always constantly prioritizing on.
How do you find a community? So with that, like, there's communities everywhere that need what you guys are offering. How do you go, okay, like with the limited resources that we have with people, time, and finances, how do you make that decision where to go?
Yeah, well, from a partnering standpoint or a resourcing standpoint, people come to us quite a bit like, hey, we want a playground. Like, okay, that's great. Yes, I'm sure you could use a playground. But unfortunately, we're not a foundation. We can't just fund playgrounds all across the globe as much as we would love to.
Sure.
So a lot of the playgrounds happen by us working in conjunction with them to fundraise, for the playgrounds. So, we'll handle all the logistics, all the shipping, all the clearing, the building, but they will be the primary group that will help to fundraise. So that's how a lot of them happen. Get more ownership. So absolutely,
if you're raising money for it.
Absolutely.
Love that.
From a community standpoint where we have more boots on the ground, it works a little bit different. We launched a new, I'll call it an initiative a couple of years ago, called Generation Hope. And that is where we have basically taken the 3 core components to our organization and are going deep in communities. We really have a strong, as we talked about earlier, a strong heart for community development. Mm-hmm. And there we rely on local indigenous leaders to open up doors for us. We know that without the right leaders on the ground, we're not worth anything, right? We don't want to be coming over there saying, do this, do this, do this. And so currently in Ecuador, Dominican Republic, and Uganda, we're relying on leaders to open up new communities for us, which then those communities we're inviting partners to join us in unique communities to make a transformational impact in those. So
incredible.
Yeah, it's fun.
I think, that's hard leading that. How do you stay sane as a leader? You got a lot going on.
A lot of wise counsel, a lot of prayer.
Good.
A lot. We have an amazing team that I'm blessed to serve with. We have a great board of directors. My father was very insightful along the years and still is, as we continue to move the vision forward. But
was that hard taking, following your footsteps of your dad? Is that what's
to be
that
honest?
Like? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I graduated college with a finance and marketing background, and never, even growing up, getting to travel was great, of course, as a kid or as a college student. It was the last thing from my mind that I would leave corporate America and work, one, with my father, and, 2, when I came on board, we had 4 staff.
Yeah.
And I just had the corporate, I want to grow, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then the Lord just did something in my heart 16 years ago. And, it's never easy. And that's just with any person. But we've, for all those years, we had a really great working relationship, and, we're very different people. And we know that. And so everything just moved forward pretty smooth. So.
Are there any rules that you and your dad have? Because I think that's important. I don't know if it's talked about enough. It's like, how do you work with family? It's like, my wife and I recently started working together in some capacity. I'm like, this is different. It's like, it's just different. So we had to establish a couple rules, and that's helped. I think it's been really helpful. But so what about for you? Do you have any, like with your dad, like, we don't talk about this here?
Absolutely. He lives in Illinois and I live in California.
That helps.
So that, yes, but we're very good on, business talk these hours, with family, and not, it's been a very different kind of transition. I'm not sure if you know about the transition that's been happening over the last couple months, but he's stepped down and I've taken on interim role as president. And so he's been a huge supporter of that, and really there's something so important, and whether it's in ministry or in corporate America, but you know, empowering the people that you serve with. And, you know, he's been a great example to allow me to start leading and to, you know, let me go through challenges, which I think is good. Ultimately helps you to become a better leader. But always there for support. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
So no awkward Thanksgivings.
No,
Good.
not at all.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Good. Well, yeah, we're rooting for you guys as a family. I think it's really cool when families do ministry together.
Yeah.
You know, I think, it's a holy thing when God calls, you know, people to something, and then to have the support of a family, and then now to have you as you leading the organization. That's a successful story. So kudos. That's awesome.
So
Wonderful.
yeah. Claire, do you have any more?
I have one hot take.
Oh, okay.
I have one question.
Okay.
How
hot
do
take.
you?
That sounds fancy.
Yeah. Do you have a hot take?
Oh, I got a list. Yeah.
I just came with one. Just kidding.
Just like where you start firing stuff.
Yeah.
Oh.
No. Okay. I was curious.
How do you integrate play in your life?
Oh.
Personally,
What? Yeah. Or with your family?
my family.
Well, now I have to cross it off my list. So
I integrate play. Oh man, we are an on the go family. We love being involved. You know, whether it be at our church, in our neighborhood, traveling. We love to travel. You know, we got kids in multiple sports. Baseball being my favorite, of course, with my son.
How old's your son?
He's almost 7.
Okay.
So he's in Pinto. If you know
of
the
course.
Carlsbad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Carlsbad Youth?
Yeah, right down the street.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
You know, I coached all.
I didn't
Carlsbad
know
Youth.
that.
Yeah, I coached
Awesome.
last year. I coached the 14U All Stars.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then I coached regular season. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we believe in I would say a couple different ways. Like, we want our kids to be involved in stuff. We want them to be around kids as much as possible. You know, and of course, just with my background, I want them to see as much as they can within reason. I couldn't be more excited. I'm actually taking my whole family to Ecuador this summer.
Awesome.
So my daughter will be 4, my son will be 7, which I have been waiting for 3 years, ever since we launched our Generation Hope initiative, to bring them down there. And of course, it's going to be a little different, you know, with kids, but they're going to get to experience building a playground, handing out the meals that we pack.
Yeah.
You know, being a part of the clubs, just talking to our staff, you know, and to me, that's play. That's them experiencing what else is out there in the world, and not being kind of stuck in bubble. I don't use the term bubble in a negative way. It's more of just a naive thing. Like, this is just how things are, but there's just so much out there for them to see. So.
That's great.
Beautiful.
Well, yeah. Any sports that you're into to play? Do you play pickleball? Are you a pickleball player?
I don't think I'm old enough to play pickleball. Am I? Isn't that?
It's so true. It's like,
I keep hearing about pickleball.
I mean, that is just sweeping across the nation right now.
Fastest
is.
growing sport in America.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I played baseball through college.
Oh, you did?
I did. D3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So, huge baseball guy.
What position?
I was, through high school, I was center field. In college, I was left field.
Really?
I was an outfielder.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I love fly balls, man.
Yeah.
They get me going.
They give me anxiety.
Yeah. That's what ground balls always did
Yeah.
to me. You know, it's like the type of thing.
Yeah, my son had one the other day. He had this incredible catch at second base, like laid out, line drive, laid out, caught it. And then right after that, this sky high pop fly. And I'm like, Liam, that was everyone, the cloud freezer was him when he laid out. He goes,
Yeah.
that was easy because it just happened so fast. I just reacted.
Yep.
It's the worst thing in the world to hear the crack of a bat and see a ball go up into the sky and then have to like position
Figure
yourself.
out where it is.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like first step, always back, right? That's
Yeah,
you gotta
always
remember.
back.
Always
That's right.
back.
Yeah.
No, I love baseball. I used to play softball quite a bit until kid number 2, my daughter, was born. Just priorities changed a little bit. Love to golf. Used to golf more, but you know, kids and travel. That's kind of where my priorities are. But love all sports, and love, you know, messing around with my son, whatever he wants to play.
Incredible. Are you coaching?
I coached fall ball.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Yes. Awesome.
And I would say kind of quasi coach in spring. You know, it's the commitment with the practices, the games. And if I say I'm going to do it, like, I'd like to be able to be there for as much as possible. And, you know, we're still kind of getting the Southern California sports thing is very different from growing up in the Midwest.
Yeah. How so?
And maybe this is just a generational thing. I mean, I grew up playing baseball, 30, 35 years ago. It's intense.
It's intense.
It's a lot.
Year round now.
It is,
There are no seasons.
which is great. But I mean, as a family, we're just not ready to lock our kids into one thing yet. But it's good. I mean, I can see why there's a lot of professional athletes that come from, whether it's Southern California or other warmer states. I could only play baseball for 5-6 months out of the year, so I'm personally, my wife is from out here, but I'm still kind of personally getting used to, wow, okay, we can play this sport year round. That's different.
A lot, yeah.
Intense.
And one of the things they're finding right now in CYB, Carlsbad Youth Baseball, is the rec league here.
Yeah.
And I was talking to the high school coach. He's like, I really, I love the kids who come through the rec ball, as opposed to, he goes, the travel ball is great and it's awesome. But oftentimes kids just get burned out.
Yeah.
It's just too much. And he goes, what CYB does, rec baseball, and good coaching, it teaches kids to love the game of baseball.
Yeah.
He goes, give me a kid who's coachable, who loves baseball, and we're going to go far.
Yep.
And so, just coming back to that theology of play, like just allowing kids to enjoy something.
Yes.
And not for it to become a job, is like, that's something we're facing as a society. I think, we have a lot of growth that's needed.
Well, you look at the athletes, they're in whatever sport, they played multiple sports.
That's right.
Most of them did. I mean, unless they're from a different country, like, he was also the football quarterback, or he was also the starting point guard. I mean, being able to develop multifaceted skills,
right,
I think helps you become a better rounded baseball player or better rounded football player, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So,
okay. So, I got a couple questions for you. All right. Do you prefer a playground of today, like these amazing monstrosities, or the old big toys? Do you remember the big toys? Is that what you called them in Illinois? Like the wooden structures?
Yeah.
What do you prefer?
Man, those wooden structures. I remember growing up on one of those.
Splinters, those hot slides in the summer.
They got some really cool stuff right now. We have a corporate partnership with Little Tykes Commercial.
Okay.
And they help to fund a lot of global playgrounds with us.
Yeah.
And I always love seeing the new innovations that are coming out from them, just with, the ways that play has even developed. Because for a while it was like, let's just build all slides.
Right.
Now it's like, no, kids, they want ropes. They want things to climb. They want to be challenged. They want bars. They want all this stuff. And it's just constantly being innovative. And I see my kids playing on those more than, a slide's fun, but it's only one thing you can do on it. And so I personally like the newer ones.
Okay.
That was a long answer to that question.
No, that's good.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
Monkey bars or a slide?
I like monkey bars.
Me too.
I do.
Yeah.
There's nothing like, I'll never forget like helping my son go across the monkey bars for the first time, and he's like, I don't need you anymore. I'm big enough now.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a challenge.
So I got a monkey bar story. So see these right here?
Yeah.
They're all fake.
Oh, no.
First grade, monkey bars. Boom. I don't know what happened, but I'm on the ground, and my front teeth are gone. And they're like, oh, well, you got to go get your head checked, and go to the ER and do all that stuff. And then they're looking for my permanent teeth, because my permanent teeth had just come in. And they're like, we can't find them. So, off to the ER I go, and I get the MRI or CAT scan or whatever. And they're like, oh, we found your teeth. They're in your nose. Like I had hit flush and jammed them up. Anyways, a lot of trauma around monkey bars. But
every kid's got a good.
I know. It's back in the day.
I've only broke one bone in my life. And it was
playground?
jumping off a swing.
Yeah.
When I was like 8 or 9.
It's great. Yeah, you got to learn those lessons. That's
Absolutely.
wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, it's trauma resiliency. Okay, favorite cuisine in the countries that you work? Ooh. And you go everywhere. So what's like, if you could have something for lunch today, what would you have?
Preface that question. My favorite thing to do is, especially if I'm in a new country, or even if it's one I've been to a lot, I say, order me what you would order.
Yeah, classic.
I get burned on that sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But then I always say, don't tell me what it is. And then after you eat it, like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have ordered that. Favorite cuisine. So I've been going to Ecuador quite often. Coastal Ecuador.
Okay.
That's kind of the headquarters of our international work. and they have amazing seafood down there.
All right.
Like if you go to the grocery store here, shrimp, a lot of the tuna's from there, and they have the best ceviche. You know, our team down there jokes every time I get, they already know what I want. It's made a little bit differently, but the shrimp is just phenomenal.
Okay.
So I know that's kind of boring, but
No, I like it. That's a good answer. It's a good answer. Okay, favorite. I'm trying to think. I know like playgrounds have evolved due to lawsuits, aka busted teeth and all that stuff. What element of a playground has been removed that you wish would come back? I was trying to think of like some of the things that we used to see.
I was going to say merry-go-round, but they
right.
are in the process. I've only seen a couple of them of having a safer merry-go-round.
Okay.
Because we used to build a lot of those internationally too. I've seen like 50 kids on one before. I mean, they're just so it's the whole moving parts thing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where even swings, you know, some cities don't allow swings.
And teeter-totters. Gone.
Yeah, those are, you know, the things with teeter-totters and swings, and they're great. I mean, obviously all kids love them, but from my experience, our experience, especially internationally, land and space is usually a challenge. And you can build these great swing sets or swings, you know, where there can be 2 swings or 4, but it takes up so much space.
And only 4 kids can enjoy it.
Only 4 kids can enjoy it.
And if you're on the swings, you're not getting off.
You're never getting off.
No way.
No way. Yeah.
On
Unless you're
Mississippi
jumping
too,
off.
Mississippi.
But there, if you're jumping off, you know, unfortunately, we don't usually have the ability to put in like the surfacing we have here. You know, if we have sand, we'd love to be able to do that, but that's typically the only option for surfacing globally. So
okay.
But yeah, merry-go-rounds.
All right, I got a real personal one here. All right, you travel a lot, and I'm always fascinated by insider tips. But okay, your toiletry bag only fits 2 items, and you're going to the Middle East for 2 weeks. What are you taking? Only 2 items.
Hands down, toothbrush.
Okay.
Number 1, my deodorant. That's
Good call.
it. That's all I really need.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could wear a hat. I don't need.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay. If you could only listen to one album for the rest of your life.
Oh man. Depends on the mood I'm in.
This is going to be the mood for the rest of your life. So I'm going to ask Claire the same question. She's a musician.
Can it be an artist? I don't know if I have an album.
It's got to be an album. Okay, you can go artist. We can break the rules.
Yeah, go artist.
If you asked me this in high school,
what year did you graduate?
I would have said NSYNC's first album probably, or No Strings Attached.
Wow.
Definitely.
Okay.
I was
wouldn't
like
have guessed
prime.
that.
Oh, I
I
was
wouldn't have guessed that,
prime,
but
man.
I
It
love
was
that answer.
late 90s boy bands.
There you go.
That was hot. You know, from a music standpoint, I'm not going to say I'm like this is my group or this is my guy. And it's not that I enjoy the club scene, but I do enjoy running. And so I'm a big, I love Calvin Harris, like David Guetta, stuff that's going to constantly like get me going, get me amped. Mm-hmm. Even when I'm traveling, you know, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. Like that just kind of, both those get me going.
Okay.
So yeah,
like that.
there
Claire,
you go.
That's good.
What about you? Desert Island.
I oscillate. For a long time, it was, I think, Alt J's second album.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Awesome Wave.
Yeah,
That was like
yeah.
Airplane, studying every one, you know, package deal. But if I had to listen to one album forever, it might be Sylvan Esso's first album, the self-titled Sylvan Esso.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Love that.
Yeah. Depends on what mood I'm in.
Yeah, me
It's
too.
a hard one. It's a hard one.
That's why I need something
it's a hot
upbeat.
take.
If it's the only thing,
Yeah.
it's got to be, yeah.
Any more hot takes? Any more questions? Getting the scrunchy nose.
On the spot.
Well, hey, I think what you're doing is incredible.
Thank you,
I
guys.
think nations exist to get to explore people like yourself who are willing to again be courageous and obedient to do the things that God's asked you to do. And oftentimes we hear the story of the organization, which Kids Around the World is incredible, but we just want to say that thank you for leading by example and just growing up in a family that cares deeply and carrying that legacy into the next chapter and growing that organization. It's just really, really inspiring. So thanks, Jeff.
Thank you guys. This has been fun.
We got a little care package for you.
Sweet.
What do we have here, Claire?
What do we got here?
We got the
some
volume
merch.
7.
Button.
Got
Nice.
a T-shirt.
Awesome.
Have you seen this one? This is
I have
the
not.
latest. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Sweet. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
This is great.
And hey, I know one of our videographers went to Iraq, I believe, and filmed, and so we're going to be releasing that short this week, and just give people.
He did a fantastic job.
Did a good job.
That
He's
was
as a
really
photographer
cool.
transitioning
Yes.
to videographer. That's
Yes.
not an easy transition.
Yeah.
Still,
Not at
pictures is not moving pictures. And
Yes.
so, anyways, James did a great job. And what I love about it is that you get to see firsthand those smiles of those
You do.
kids, and I think that's what it's all about.
Play. It matters.
It
right?
does.
It does.
Yeah. So
Something
get out there and play. I think it's a big part of Sabbath. When I went back to school about a decade ago and studied spiritual formation for a couple of years, and I was asked that, like, how do you rest? And we had to come up with the answer to that. And it's like, there's this understanding culturally that we have that we're resting from. It's like, oh, the weekend's here. I'm resting from my week. And I think what we see in Scripture more times than not is that Jesus was resting forward. He was resting for what was to come. And it was a time of preparation, a time of spiritual intimacy with God the Father to be equipped for the next season, the next chapter. And one of the things that, for me, that I learned is like play and adventure is how I rest. It's one of the ways. And it's not just this idea of like, I'm tired, I'm physically exhausted, I need to rest. No, I think rest is, rest comes in many forms. And so play was discovered in my stale room of academics as being an essential part of Sabbath. And so thank you for
thank you guys.
helping us better understand what you do. And so Claire, I think we did it.
Did it. Thank you so much
This was
for
fun.
coming.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I think Joseph's out and we're in. I think he's our replacement. So anyways, we'll see how that goes
Yes.
over. But thanks for being here. And for more information, kidsaroundtheworld.org.
KATW.org, kidsaroundtheworld.com.
Okay.
We got them.
We'll link it in
We
the
got
show
them all.
notes.
The Twitters, the Instagrams,
Know
the
it.
Facebooks,
Yep.
all the things.
Yep.
Well, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you guys.